A few months ago, I participated in the 2025 YouTube Conlang Relay, hosted by George Corley of Conlangery. In this video, I'll talk about the translation process and show you the result of the translation into my Conlang Sdefa. Sdefa is a musical Conlang, so the translation is some music for piano. The background music you're hearing right now is also Sdefa. I was third in the relay, so if you want to watch from the beginning, there's a playlist for the whole thing linked in the video description. If you just want to hear the Sdefa translation and don't want to hear me talk about it at all, you can skip to the time on the screen. The text I received from Ren was in a simplified version of their language obligation, also known as Hlathnak. The document they sent did have a bit of a warning attached, and I knew from previous relays that sometimes things can get pretty convoluted pretty quickly. But of course, weird transformations of the text are the whole point of Conlang relays. So with that in mind, here's the translation I came up with. A spider will give everyone a book, but won't look for text comprehension. With the right tools, a person wove a spiderweb near another spiderweb. Listen, the spider won't surpass stronger people. The spider under the sun will call something without eggs home. They must look for new ways to raise interest among people, because minds will be powerful. As you can see, it's a bit confusing. All the articles are guesses, since obligation doesn't make frequent use of its articles, so I don't really know how many spiders are being talked about. It's mostly future tense, but with one past tense sentence thrown in. There's one place where I wasn't exactly sure what the object of the verb was, and I had absolutely no idea who they is referring to in the last sentence. Add to that the fact that in obligation the words for book and egg are homophones, so I had to guess which meaning fit where. Instead of translating that all verbatim, I wanted to make some changes to make it make a little more sense. I spent a lot of time staring at this translation and trying to decide what to do. In the end, I decided to interpret the text as a narrative about a particular spider. That meant assigning the unknown they to refer to that spider, even though it's supposed to be plural. The tenses don't make much sense, but Sdefa doesn't mark tense very often anyway, so I decided to ignore that. Since I knew the text had started in George's language in Dakaga, a language for dragons, I thought it was reasonable that person might have originally referred to a sapient creature in general instead of to a human specifically. So I decided to interpret person very broadly and took two instances to refer to a spider, but the third one I did interpret as human. There were a few other small changes, but the biggest one was completely reordering the sentences to make it work as a narrative. In all, it felt a bit like doing one of those sliding block puzzles, except that I had to paint over one or two of the blocks to make it work right. So, here's what I ended up with. A spider was under the sun, no longer calling an egg its home. With the right tools, it made a web near another spider's web. It couldn't surpass the other spider, which was stronger, so it had to find new methods, like asking people for help, because their minds are powerful. So the spider gave everyone books, but it didn't expect them to understand them. That was the version that I worked from when translating from English to Sdefa, but a few more things got changed in the process. I left out the phrase, with the right tools, since it's now a spider making the web, and that sort of goes without saying. I also left out because their minds are powerful, but that one was a complete accident. Finally, I decided to give the text a more conclusive ending and changed it to, but the people didn't understand the books. After all, I don't think most people would understand a book written by a spider. So that brings us to this version, which is pretty much a direct translation of the Sdefa text you're about to hear. Or at least that's what I thought it was. About 3 weeks after passing this on, I realized I'd made a mistake. I accidentally used the second-person pronoun in place of one of the third-person ones, so I accidentally called you an egg. Sorry about that. It only comes up at the beginning of the text, but we'll see how much that mistake affects the relay going forward. In any case, this is what it looks like in Sdefa. Only the sequence of pitches has meaning, so things like rhythm and harmony are extra features to make the resulting music sound nicer. I didn't include all of that in the torch document to avoid things getting too confusing. I knew they'd be confusing enough. So, without any more ado, this is what the Sdefa translation sounds like. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and check out this playlist for other Sdefa videos.